Sitram Kathwa, who is with the Secretary of the Chimney Mission at the Washington Regional Center of the Hindu Community, is here with us, but has generally given up his speaking time. We are going to hear from one last individual, Avner Cohen Zamir, teachman at the Gottesman Day School, who grew up on kibbutz near Od, which was attacked by Hamas, and then we will conclude with the Star Spangled Banner and Hatikva.
On Friday night, the ground fell out from under me. I wake up from a telephone call from my sister, quote, "Something terrible is happening in your house," end quote. Immediately afterwards, messages from my father in our family group chat read, quote, "There are terrorists outside the house. They are entering the house. They are trying to break the door of our bomb shelter. Save us," end quote. Afterwards, I endured an hour of terrifying silence, an hour during which I prayed with all my might that my beloved parents were murdered and not kidnapped. The relief of the message from my mother that read, quote, "We are okay," end quote, was mixed with the never-ending messages from my friends, quote, "Has anyone seen my parents? Tell me someone has seen them. They aren't answering. Gadi was kidnapped. Chaim was kidnapped. The emergency security squad of the kibbutz had been killed," end quotes. Hours of anxiety that nobody had come to help them. At the same time, there were stories of braveness, heroism. Rachel, my good friend's mother, a 70-year-old woman who held the door to a bomb shelter closed with strength even during shooting from the terrorists while using her body to protect her two granddaughters. Youth who saved their families as their house went up in flames and found them a safe refuge. Others who went out with guns drawn against dozens of terrorists to try to save a friend. I prefer not to speak about the devastation and the destruction that the terrorists left behind. Kibbutz Nir Oz, the amazing Neve Midbar, oasis, the scenery of my childhood, the people who I grew up with are no longer. Nir Oz was a community of people who were loving, who loved their land. They helped their land flourish and dedicated their life to fight for peace in the greater area. 80 of the kibbutz members were kidnapped and are being held hostage in Gaza. Among them elderly, mothers, gentle kids, even babies. Dozens of people were killed. Friends who I grew up with since the day I was born, my teachers, my kindergarten teachers. Workers from our green fields, people whose door was always open for me. People who made it clear that their house was always mine. The green grass, the manicured gardens, the houses on the kibbutz, everything went up in flames. I am not a political person. I do not know how to solve this bloody conflict that haunted us for many years, but I am a human. And I know the most important thing for us right now, for the children of the kibbutz members, for the grandmother and the mother whose kids and grandchildren are being held hostage at the evil hands of Hamas, is to enable the immediate transfer of medications and medical supplies to the hostages, some of whom are older and need medication in order to continue living. And afterwards, we must bring about the immediate release. We must exert political and humanitarian pressure to ensure this is done and done immediately. Afterwards, we will need to join together to recreate and rebuild the beautiful Garden of Eden that once was Kibbutz Nir Oz. We will not rest until our friends return to their fragmented families. With a broken heart, I beg all of you to heed my father earth-shattering, chilling words that I received in a WhatsApp message nearly a week ago. Hatzilu, save us.
I also want to mention how this has hit home in our own community. How many of you know somebody who was killed, taken hostage, or been mobilized for combat in Israel? Look around you, everybody. The overwhelming majority of our hands are raised. Many of you know our Jewish community leader, Norman Goldstein, who was the head of the day school and the president of the JCRC. His grandnephew is missing. His grandnephew was a combat medic, lost his arm when in a terrorist attack, put a tourniquet on himself, and they don't know where he is, and they think he's been taken hostage. Please send your prayers to Norman and his family, and do everything we can to bring our friends home. I'm now going to ask the sponsors of the rally, the AJ Committee lay leadership, JCRC lay leadership,